Hi there, welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Lindholm. And I think it's time for us women to shift the conversation in business and step into our feminine leadership to do the most iconic work the aesthetic industry has ever seen. Each week, I'll be bringing a powerful dose of strategy, sarcasm, solutions, and sass that will rev up your creativity and ignite your brilliance as you link arms with me along our shared path of personal and professional growth in 20 minutes or less. Let's go. Hey there, goddess. Welcome back to the Fierce Factor podcast. It's your coach, Kaylee here, and you're tuning in to episode number 284. Please don't mind Oakley snoring in the background. Hi, I am here today coming from the heart. This episode is something that is going to hit pretty close to home for me. And I think for you, it's something I've been reflecting on a lot lately as a founder growing and scaling my company and someone who went to college for business. I earned a business degree. I've been in business for a decade. It's pretty fascinating when I take a step back and I look at myself going through the process of scaling a company as a mission-led founder who wants to grow her business with purpose and intention, with standards, and how ultimately the impact that my business intends to create in the world just by far outweighs the focus that I have on how much money it makes doing it. I mean, I'll be honest. And I'm not telling you this to be altruistic. I'm really sharing this with you because I know if you listen to this podcast, it's because you're a lot like me and you most likely wrestle with some of these same challenges intrinsically. I often sit down to record these podcasts and, I'll sit and think about, okay, well, what kind of support do women like me need? I think about our clients. I think about all of the women, the brilliant women that I have the privilege of coaching on a daily basis, and the common struggles that prevent founders and female founders specifically from scaling companies that stay mission driven, that fuel the founder and that create massive impact. And let's be honest, are a joy to run. I am constantly scanning our industry and looking at market trends and innovations and forecasting, anticipating the most optimal ways to accomplish business growth in whatever climate we're in. But the reality is that the tactics are just that, something new to try. And at the end of the day, it really all comes down to calling your shot and staying in the game. As I've navigated many different milestones of growing my own business, I've come to realize that entrepreneurship is a game of no finish lines, just one problem to solve after another. And so it can feel like a relief when you've got a big hurdle ahead, you finally overcome a challenge, maybe it's filling your books or building your brand or earning a reputation in your industry and in your marketplace. And the minute you take a deep breath to exhale, the next challenge comes and smacks you dab in the middle of the face. And now you got to deal with the next one, right? Learn how to lead people. You have to learn how to hire. You have to learn how to trust people. You have to learn how to hold them accountable. You have to learn how to not only create clarity for yourself about the vision that, let's be honest, changes over time, but now we have to become masters of communicating that vision and enrolling other people to execute on those results. Meanwhile, we're operating with limited cash flow and have to be expertly discerning about how every single resource in the company is allocated. If that doesn't sound like enough of a jigsaw puzzle, let me add one more complexity to this equation. You aren't just leading, growing, and scaling this company. You're also the product your company is selling. So let me help paint this picture for you. Imagine your name is Sarah Blakely. You have this brilliant idea for a pantyhose that shrink wraps your thighs, butt, and stomach so clothes fit you perfectly with no sign of dimples or cellulite or bulge. Just, she says, making booties look better. I think that's kind of her tagline. You get to work. You're like, okay, got this great product. So I'm going to go to work pitching the product in department stores, make a million calls, finally get an opportunity to hop on a plane from Atlanta, go to Dallas to pitch the buyer for Neiman Marcus. So you show up after years of product development, prototyping, iterations, unanswered pitches, straight up no's, dead ends. You pull the buyer, you're there, like you're in Neiman Marcus and you're like, this is it. Like I am closing this woman. You pull her into the dressing room and you literally put on this miracle invention called Spanx. And you show her how incredible this product is. She is so impressed. She places this huge order for Spanx across the country. You feel like you won the freaking lottery. So you jump on a flight back home. You're elated. You have been working for this for years. You have grinded to build your brand, to grow your visibility, and to land the kind of clients like Neiman Marcus who will drive impact for your business. So a good old celebration, go to bed, wake up the next morning, and you're like, you suddenly realize that you have to go down to your basement and hand sew every single pair that was placed in that order. You also have to hand deliver them, custom measure onto each and every person who buys a pair, and you have to stay with them to make sure that they don't snag or bunch or cause a rash. Can you imagine that? That is a lot of what it feels like to be a service-based business owner who built a business around a skill. It is a never-ending power walk on the supply and demand treadmill. And this is the part of scaling as a female service-based founder that no one is talking about. But not today, because we're going to elucidate this unspoken energy-sucking conundrum of driving demand for a brand while also having to service that demand at a world-class level. I learned this lesson quite some time ago. When I was 12 years old, my mom enrolled me in a bow making class, the kind where I learned how to make professional bows for packages and wreaths and Christmas trees. And I was really good at it. My mom's friends started hiring me to decorate their trees and wrap packages. And before I knew it, my holiday season was completely booked with clients. So every weekend, morning to night, I would spend wrapping, bow making, decorating. I mean, for a 12-year-old, I was like drowning in business and I was stockpiling cash. I sure thought I was a talented little entrepreneur until my first free weekend. I went to a friend's house and she had this huge lemon tree in her backyard. We were kind of hanging out there trying to decide what we wanted to do and started thinking, hey, let's pick some lemons, make some lemonade and put up a lemonade stand. She lived on a pretty busy street. It was perfect. We did it. We posted a sign for lemonade for 99 cents a cup. And sure enough, neighbors came strolling by. And then sure enough, they'd tell other neighbors. A few friends drove by. Their parents would buy a couple of cups, leave an extra 5 or leave a 20 and say, keep the change. And then we took the lemonade and put it in a little wagon and walked the wagon over to the park. And no more than, I would say, 2 to 3 hours later, we had made $150. Sounds pretty awesome, right? You think I would be elated by this. We just made $150 in 3 hours, but that is not how I felt at all. I felt discouraged and disappointed because I spent the last 3 months of precious time between soccer games and church and all of the things I had going on, wrapping packages for $3.50 a package. These took me like 10 minutes or so, 20 minutes sometimes to do those Christmas trees, all the things. So I typically made about 15 to $20 an hour, give or take, which was great money back in 1994, but a far cry from the money we made selling lemonade. So sure enough, insert my lesson, I sauntered home with my wad of lemonade earnings and I just pulled everything out, emptied my pockets and just tossed it all on the kitchen table. And my mom was there and she kind of looked at me and I said, Mom, I just made the same amount of money selling lemonade in 3 hours. That takes me multiple weeks to earn wrapping gifts. It was like just a tacit understanding of, okay, here's your first business lesson. I wasn't selling bows and wrapped gifts. I was selling my time. And here lies the reality of building a service-based business. The reason that our clients at KLC achieve the highest levels of success as bootstrap founders is that the Life First business model framework wasn't built on the same principles that I learned earning my business degree. The objective measurements of scale that tell you that your gap is a knowledge deficiency, that if you just understood numbers and KPIs and how to get your team to sell more, you'll be better off. These experts telling you this either haven't built and scaled a multi-million-dollar service-based business, or they don't have the skills to coach you through this inflection point. Take it from me, it's a numbers game, but not the way you're learning it. Have you ever hired someone to help you with marketing and you turn around and end up with a list of videos to make and a scroll of content that you have to edit? Come on, don't lie. You know you've been here. You secretly cuss someone out in your mind asking, why can't they figure out how to market my world-class brand without me? This is the owner product dilemma. Every move forward bungee cords us to more work. Until we build a model that solves for this problem, a company's growth is inversely tethered to your most precious resource as a service provider, your energy. That's where the Life First business model comes into play. I designed this framework because the classes I took in business school never took into consideration that I valued relationships, mentorship, continued learning, creative problem solving, deep connection with my customers. Oh, and having a life. No, ma'am. Professor Bing would be redlining my thesis paper right now. He'd say, hire someone to do everything you're doing, systematize it, and then make them do it faster. But in real life, that model didn't work for me. I didn't need to make $10 million in 3 years. I just needed to keep running a business that fulfilled me, made a huge impact, and fostered growth and financial stability for my team. So growth has been slower and steadier. Decisions have been calculated and values have been unwavering. And by golly, while competitors are dropping off like flies, KLC continues to fulfill its mission, and lucrative financial growth has been a pretty awesome side effect. And that's the point. The business books that were written by dudes in 1937 have little relevance to the operating reality of a female founder who is building a business with her name on the door. Tell me I'm wrong. So my point here is that if you're feeling overwhelmed, stuck, unfocused, confused, conflicted by your ambition to grow, but also enjoy your life, you're not doing it wrong. You're just operating by an outdated framework. It's 2025, goddess. It's time to build a Life First business. This isn't about balance or alignment. It's about CEO level strategy that designs a whole ecosystem that fuels, energizes, and uplifts you so you can continue to do what you're the best in the effing world at and the things that you love. In fact, there's some critical lessons I've learned along our company's path to 8 figures that I didn't find in any business book. I learned them in good old-fashioned school of hard knocks. These principles guide every decision I make as a leader, and there are 3 in particular that I want to share with you today. These are ideas that apply to you on business day 1, and that I believe if you adopt them will shape both speed and quality of your business growth. These are things I wish I had known when I first started. There's an old parable I heard recently in a Simon Sinek podcast that an Academy member shared with me, and I hadn't heard in a while. So I wanted to share it with you. 2 men were hired to cut down trees for 30 days. Both set out to work at sunrise, and both worked until sundown. One man swung his axe as hard and as fast as he could from the first hour until the last. He barely stopped. The other, he'd leave to take a break for an hour every day. Every day, they would count their piles, and at the end of the week, even though one worker took the hour break every day, at the end of the week, he had chopped the same amount of wood and showed up with more energy to chop the following week, ultimately outperforming the one who worked from sunup to sundown with no break. Finally, the hardworking wood chopper asked the other one, "How have you chopped so much wood when you're taking an hour off every day? Where are you going during that hour?" To his reply, "I'm sharpening my axe." We are a society who is obsessed with instant gratification. We want to see the numbers climb. We want to drive growth to achieve more and more and more and more. We see someone else boasting about their new thing on Instagram and we get FOMO. But what I found is that the founders who focus solely on growth either burn out, fall out of love with their business, or ultimately lose focus on their customers and by design, plateau. But the founders who focus on getting better, sharpening their axe, slowing down to evaluate what's working, exercise constraint in taking on new projects, improve processes, train their people, build systems that scale, they build a better business. And when you're better, you by default grow bigger. So lesson number 1 is if you get better, you will get bigger. Have you ever taken a course or been to a conference and come home with a journal full of notes, a ton of excitement and enthusiasm, only to find yourself back in the grind of the day-to-day, facing the same problems you left to solve and feeling even more overwhelmed by all the things that you now haven't accomplished? Or maybe you paid a mentor for her exact blueprint. You called all the same vendors. You followed the exact steps. You mirrored every piece of advice that she gave you, and your results were dramatically different. Or maybe you make a strategic plan to go live on Instagram once a week. But the minute you hit the record button, all your nerves kick in and you tell yourself you don't have a script ready or you aren't polished enough to present how you planned. Or maybe you dream of getting on stage, but as soon as you get a potential opportunity to, you freeze and subtly self-sabotage the opportunity. Maybe you don't even try to get on stage. You just wait for somebody to ask. Here's the thing. You can learn all you want. You can pay for any 10-step formula, new technique, new skill. You can plan for any level of success. But if you don't invest in growing your capacity for that success, you won't even allow your own self to achieve it. Think of a golfer who's taken a billion swings, has competed at the collegiate level, and achieves her dream of becoming a pro. She now has to step onto the course and compete with the best in the world, with the cameras on her, with her literal livelihood depending on her to perform, to make a single shot, with crowds of people watching her every move. If she can't handle the pressure, if she can't mentally shake off a bad shot to move forward through that failure, all of those practice sessions, all of those rounds of golf that got her to this point simply just don't matter. She has to do the mindset work to create an expansive container where her capabilities will shine. If you hire a team and can't trust people, if you want to make a big investment but are too scared to spend the money, if you're stuck playing small because you're nervous you might lose some part of yourself along the way, these are signs it's time to invest in your leadership. Lesson number 2 is capacity trumps capability. And finally, lesson number 3 is the buck always stops with you. It's natural to want to find an external reason something didn't work out. The economy, the climate, the marketplace, the employee, the landlord, the shady company you had to deal with. I've heard it all. But as a leader, your results always point back to you. You have an ineffective employee, your fault. You hired them. You have a culture erosion, your fault. You created that environment. Team unfocused, your fault. You're unfocused. You're exhausted, your fault. You overcommitted and under-recovered. You bought a device that isn't selling, your fault. Your EMR can't pull the data you need, your fault. You're out of cash, you get the point. The minute you start taking accountability for every single result you experience, the minute you gift yourself control over your destiny. The next time you feel frustrated about something, ask yourself, what could I have done differently to experience a different result? It won't be easy, but it will be freeing. And it might just be the thing that inspires you to make a decision you've been sitting on and change your own circumstances. Just saying. So here's the bottom line. If you're a mission-driven founder and you're juggling that itch to grow with the grind of servicing every client, remember that scaling isn't about relentless hustle or chasing an impossible alignment. It's about sharpening your axe, investing in the systems, people, and leadership capacity that lets your brilliance shine without burning you out. If this is resonating for you, if you're experiencing this owner is the product dilemma, knowing your numbers isn't going to solve this problem. Now, we will help you with that. Don't get me wrong. But you first need to design a new framework for frictionless growth. And that framework is the Life First Business. And that's what we teach inside of our programs at KLC. So if you'd like to take a deep dive with us and you want to come be with us live, you can join us at the Alt Experience next April 16th to 18th in Newport Beach. This is the space where female entrepreneurs are coming together to share their stories of business ownership, learn actionable strategies to scale, and connect with the best of the best in aesthetics and wellness. This is a space where your voice is heard, understood, and valued. And I'm telling you, Goddess, your limiting beliefs are destroyed. And P.S., today is the last day to sign up for our Alt Bestie Bundle, a promotion for you to join your entrepreneur bestie and become each other's accountability partners, to commit to investing in building your capacity, to connect, grow, and get intentional about building a legacy business. You can head to klcconsultants.com/alt-besties. Again, that's klcconsultants.com/alt-besties. I'll also link this up in the show notes as well, or you can even DM me on Instagram, the word besties, and I'll get you the direct link. And listen, if you want to solve this problem sooner, you're like my kind of girl. We can jump on a call to discuss how to best support you to help you achieve your ambitious goals on your timeline and budget. So let's agree to stop pretending balance is the goal. Let's choose the proven CEO level strategy that designs an ecosystem to fuel and uplift you. Because trust me, it takes work but you can build a life first, mission-driven business that grows profitably and joyfully. You absolutely can have it all. So please share this episode with your favorite owner product founder, and let's grow this movement together. I will chat with you same place, same time next week. Listen, leader, if you're vibing with me here, hang tight because I have a brand new resource for you. You are a successful, confident, powerful woman who just isn't into being average. No, you have a calling, and part of that calling is requiring you to level up. And I know that if you're working across the next $1 million milestone in your business, you need to be in the right circles. And perhaps that's why you found us. I'd love to invite you to join The Blueprint, a weekly resource for inspired, provocative thinkers who are taking this conversation to the next level. Get access to free business tools, podcast supplements, guideposts, and direct communication with me and my expert team. And of course, a masterfully curated circle of women making big moves and disrupting the status quo in aesthetics and wellness. You can link directly through the show notes or head to klcconsultants.com/blueprint. It's time to elevate. See you there, goddess.